podcast, and we're back with another episode with Supriya Chechi, and we're continuing our discussions of the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, Supriya, you can take it away, and Hare Krishna and Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna, Kannan, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, we are on chapter 10, fifth verse. And we were discussing last time. We had completed truthfulness. These are qualities that Krishna is listing. That these are qualities that human beings have or don't have in to varying degrees, but that they basically come from him. So when it comes to, and then Srila Prabhupada gives a helpful and practical translation here, a commentary in the purport. So we were discussing last time how truthfulness is actually, it is the challenges of practicing truthfulness, because it gets you straightforwardness, because it gets you into trouble with people, you become unpopular. There's a way to go about it. The present climate doesn't appreciate it at all, because the present climate is like you have to be super sensitive about so many issues and politically correct. And I think what we come to is that it is in some situations one can express what one actually thinks by just maintaining silence, but just not agreeing. We may not disagree very vocally, because that might get us into trouble, but just maintaining silence there, that's crucial, because that means we have to have so much self-restraint. Often it's very difficult, because the flow of thoughts in our mind just comes straight out, tumbling through the mouth of our tongue. Words roll off. But if we can somehow develop this capacity to maintain restraint, then the people get the message that you are not agreeing, and where you stand or what your position is. So in order to get that restraint, we have to have some kind of sort of discipline, schedule, and sadhana practice to develop that, if we don't already have it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
basically restraint comes from mode of goodness. That is why Srila Prabhupada keeps saying one must at least come to the mode of goodness to actually get full benefits from this process. Must try and try. All right. Now the next para starts with control of the senses. You want to read, or you're drinking something? Is it okay? You
no,
want
no,
to
no.
read?
I'll read.
Okay, read.
So
Yes.
control
Control
of
of.
the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. There is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called sama. One should not
Sha,
spend
sha.
one
1 minute. It is
shama.
sha, shama,
Shama. Oh,
because
okay, okay.
there's a accent above.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sha. Okay, yeah.
Okay. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. Sukham. Pleasure to happiness should always be
Wait,
in
wait,
that.
wait. No, don't move to that. We are still talking about control of the senses. So just stop there, because that's a different quality, right? Sukham is a different
Yeah,
quality in the list. Sukham, dukham. Okay. So control of the senses means that senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. In an earlier chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the analogy was given of a tortoise, of how it has the ability to put out its limbs when it is required, when it wants to move, and then withdraw its limbs and become just like a dumb shell. And we know from the example of Jada Bharat in the Bhagavatam that he also knew how to play the idiot, you know, so that he would just be left alone and not dragged into so many material obligations, family, etc. So our senses, they need, like the tortoise, to come out to get self fulfillment where required. Like say, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to relax, we need to recreate, we need to procreate, whatever. But not beyond. If we wait to it for unnecessary personal enjoyment, then really what happens is, not just that it becomes like a blockage on the spiritual path, but the Ishopanishad teaches very clearly how when we take more than what is our quota, then nature has a habit way of hitting back. And it is like to maintain the balance. And of course, the laws of karma are so intricate that you may not get hit back immediately, or you may get hit back at once. You may not get hit back in proportion to the wrong you have done, or it may your the reaction you get may be much in excess or too little for the crime you have done. You take much more than your share, whether you're looting the bank, looting your company, to just give an example. So control of the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary. Each one has their quota, and as we develop higher intelligence, we try to figure out what is our quota, even for enjoyment, even for you know when we keep on trying to develop some idea and we find repeatedly we fail. People say, I don't have a green thumb, or all my attempts at gardening flop. Someone else says, I'm jinxed. I so desperately want to maintain a morning walk routine, but always something comes and breaks it. This is really, it's almost like we don't have the karma and we have to do something to qualify ourselves to get it. Someone else says, I really don't have the karma to make good money. I try so hard, I take all the right decisions, and somehow always it fails. So this is really in the most serious issues. It means that we don't have the karma, we don't have the pious credit. That doesn't necessarily mean that you just accept it and sit in a fatalistic way, but you try and qualify yourself. Think about all this. Why is it
I've
I don't? Yeah, go on.
with this actually with the point that you just made, I just like thought of something just came because in my kind of like in my daily routines, like I have this routine that I do for like 3 hours every
Yeah,
day, like like the and I've also put in like exercises and all that stuff. And
right.
how what I've understood is that like I don't know if it works for everybody, but what
Yeah,
I've understood is like if you want to form any type of habit, then you like you can't do it. It doesn't happen. At least for me, it doesn't happen like I can't do it.
overnight.
Like if some yeah I can't yeah it doesn't happen like just like that. Like
Right,
so
right,
if you want to develop a habit of let's say doing 50 push-ups or
right.
every day or something like
Yeah,
that, it doesn't happen with you can't start it with 50. So
right,
what I used to do is that I started like I first started doing only one. I
right.
literally did one, and then I was like, my mind told me I don't want to do at all. So first you like try to convince the mind that why it's important, and so
Right.
I would do one, and then I would next day I would be like, okay, I'll do one more, I'll do
Uh-huh.
one. Then the next day after that, I'll be like, okay, let me do two. Then maybe I'll do three, and then it goes, and then finally your mind is like, anyways you have to do it. You're anyways planning to do it every day, one or
Right,
two or so might as
right.
well do 10. Then you
I
go for
see.
20 and then 30 and then so now I do like 30. So I started
I
with
see.
one, then I go to 30. So it's like
Okay.
habit is like it's it takes time, but then like I think the most important thing is like one is like discipline. Self-discipline is very important.
Mm,
But also like having doing only what how much of it you can do initially, not
mm.
having to do it too much. Like that is very important, I think. Like
Okay, that's
otherwise you
good.
can't do it.
Good
Yeah.
advice you're sharing, because basically it's like, yeah, even Srila Prabhupada has said uh, everything is possible with practice and patience. I think that you can
Yeah.
cultivate, but like as you said, you have to go about it intelligently. If straight away you had tried to do 10, 20, then you won't be able to
It won't
maintain it,
happen.
and you just collapse. Your interest goes and the discipline flops. So what you're saying is very, very, it's good, it's
It's
useful.
it's even with this practice also like if I was like if I was like you, for example, if I was very much into the whole thing, if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tried my best to be like you, like knowing everything and all, it'd be very difficult for me to do it initially and all that stuff.
uh-huh.
So I have to kind of like go slowly and try to understand concepts slowly, and then as time goes on, then I'll be able to pick up things a bit. And like the fact that I'm able to do my practice daily and also learn that it makes it better that way. But I think like where the problem can where people can get into slight
Yeah,
problems, like they want the thing so fast that they're
right,
not
yeah, yeah.
able to like get it. very quickly and stuff. So
Right. I think a person like you and people like you, by your own good karma, you managed to get interested or found a source to nourish your interest at a young age. Right.
mm,
Now, examples like me, we were already in our late 30s when we came to this. And we
mm,
were interacting. The temple was full of 20 years old, 16, 18 years old, who were the children of parents who had joined. So we were at one point even envious and jealous that they know of the Bhagavad Gita at such a young age, and what was I doing at this age? I had no clue, you know. So there was a tendency to make up for that lost time and try to grab. But as you said, this wanting it too soon has its own pitfalls, and
mm,
there's a certain maturity that comes only with the passing of time and age. However much you learn and teach and everything, certain maturity and realizations come really only with the passing of time as one grows older. Now when I look back, like across the last 20 years, and how I might have taught the Bhagavad Gita in my first year and second year is very different from how I am
mm,
teaching it or might teach it now. So yeah, that's true. Patience and taking small steps and going more thoroughly, gradually assimilating, keeping a balance with your material duties, obligations. That's also important. As I said, examples like me, there was a big crisis in the family after a premature death of my sibling. So that crisis and vacuum had to be filled, and this came in very handy for us to recover as a family. That was Krishna's plan for us. It's different for different people. So one issue that comes up with control of the senses is, I've seen this happen especially after people take to spiritual practice very soon after they take to spiritual practice, is they swing to the other extreme. They suddenly hear all this about sense and sense gratification and Maya, and the greatest yogis being led astray because they didn't have their senses under control. Vishwamitra, the great Muni, and Menaka, and Shaurabi, the other Muni who was doing yoga under the
Sa,
water, and it,
Shabaramuni, uh,
Shavari, that's right. What
Shabaram.
a name
Okay.
like that. Yeah. Okay. So what happens is, like you said, prematurely they want it very soon. They completely suppress the senses, and that leads to huge problems. Everything they block off. Anything that is materially attractive don't just mean the opposite sex. It can be some music they used to like. Their family doesn't know what the hell has happened to them. They won't eat food cooked by the mother because it is not prasad. They won't it. They just turn all the piece upside down. Huge problems come like this. And they often temple brahmacharis who join in the temples, they carry it again to such an extent they cannot deal with the opposite gender at all. Whereas earlier they had no problem, they had sisters, they had some love interest or romantic interest. Suddenly it is like they don't want to deal with them at all. So many women complain. They go into the temple and ask for a seat to sit on the floor. Floor is very cold in Mayapur for the Bhagavatam class, though they put a dari. So we ask for an extra like a cushion, and the man comes and throws the cushion at us as if it comes anywhere near we are like poison or something. So where is this coming from? It is because of some very confused idea about how to control the senses. So that also is an art. And someone gave an analogy, a speaker in ISKCON, how a horse, those who do horse riding, they know, if you, while a horse is running and you want it to stop, or let's say that it's not really running or racing, it's just wandering here and there, and you want to bring it completely under control and you pull the stirrups, it will raise itself on its front legs and you will fall off, or there will be an accident. Whereas if you let it go, it wants to munch some grass and it wants to drink water and then it wants to gallop a little. And gradually, if you pull in the reins, it gets used to the idea that is being brought under control. So that is how we have to deal with the senses. Here he's saying something, Srila Prabhupada is saying, but yeah, therefore the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That's very important because so many people end up, especially when they are primarily in Rajoguna or the mode of passion, of thinking, worrying. The mind is like they can't switch it off. And then it becomes a personality trait. and then circumstances feed that personality trait. They can't switch it off, they can't get sleep. They're always like frenetic, nervous, febrile mind, I think it is called, that it is just so overactive. That's all very much Rajoguna. Unfortunately, our lifestyle today, which is pushed on us by the way society is evolving, keeps us always worried about things. New rules are coming, new, the government wants us to do this, do that, paperwork, you can't get your gas supply if something is not updated. So people are in constant anxiety unless they've got this kind of information somewhere like a template inside them. Then they can always come back and visit this and say, okay, I remember reading this, and it need not be like this. I can be calm. Krishna is my friend. I am devoted to Krishna, and he is watching the situation. He'll produce a solution. If we can think calmly like that, then I think that's great. That's where all
Mhm.
this information comes in really useful. I hear Srila Prabhupada is saying another very radical thing, a statement he's made, that one should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. That is
Mhm.
probably all that people do nowadays, isn't it? I mean, even the top guns, how to earn more and more, when you hear reports of how much they earn, it's like crazy. What are they going to do? They can't eat that money. What do you do with that much money? And it's a misuse of thinking power, because the human birth is not given. Of course earning money is important, how do you maintain yourself, but not in the way that all the time you only think of multiplying it. And there's a very young sannyasi in ISKCON. His name before he became a sannyasi was Ekalavya, and he
Mhm.
plays a saxophone, okay, Western. And he was born, now his sannyas name is something else. He just took sannyas 1 year ago. Young meaning he may be in his early 50s, mid 50s. So he was the son of very rich parents. And he remembers, he said in a Bhagavatam class once, he was giving class, he remembers one time there was nothing more for his parents to give him. I think it was his 13th birthday. He'd just become a teenager. He had everything that a 13-year-old needed, maybe in duplicate. So they didn't know what to do. So I think they gave him $500 as $1 bills to just spend as he likes. Now we are talking of maybe 40 years ago. So maybe that was a done thing. $500 in $1 bill. So naturally there's quite a lot of it. And I'm not sure how they packed it, or they put a rubber band around it and gave it to him. And he was so clueless what to do with it, because he didn't need anything. He says he remembers that he opened the band, he spread all the notes on his bed and rolled around on the notes. He remembers to this day, because he had no clue what to do with the money. So he says, and then a little later, all this I think sank in that there must be some higher purpose than just having money and enjoying it. And somehow he came to ISKCON, and then he was a brahmachari all his life, and now he is a sannyasi. Gives good class, gives good preacher, etc. Teacher. So yeah, money up to a point, but if someone thinks that's the be all and end all of life, then it's very sad, because it is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought, this is also an important point, that the power of thinking proper thoughts actually has to be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures. That's why they say you associate with people who know, who have gyan or knowledge, and you speak to them, and then they share their realizations, and that way we also get the benefit of it. And in the olden days, when people went on travels or people went on pilgrimages, it was not so important just going and praying in that temple and taking a dip in the river, holy river. They would try and associate and speak to people who had made it their whole life's business to realize this knowledge, who have studied the scriptures, who sit around in very austere conditions on the river banks or in ashrams. That was a tradition in those days. Because when you take that kind of association, then you also benefit. Okay, please read the next quality, which is sukham, pleasure or happiness.
Sukham, pleasure, or happiness should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected.
This is like it's supposed to be, if you ask about Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness in a nutshell, this is the one that what is favorable should be accepted and what is unfavorable should be rejected. Now, when the sukham, pleasure, or happiness should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Which means that if we start getting sukham or pleasure for something that is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, then it is our duty or responsibility to try to wean our mind away or our senses away from that attraction. Okay, here the responsibility is being put back on us. Like you just mentioned, how you develop this habit of now doing 20, 30 push-ups. If the tendency, that is nothing to do with Krishna perhaps, but what you meant is that it was not sensible. Another person in your position might have thought first day itself I do 5 or 10 push-ups, and then they're not able to keep it up. So you subdued your mind, or you
So
straight away
just
went
do one.
to
Like in
one.
one sense, you have to like in one sense you have to accept that
The
you're
reality.
fine.
Yeah.
Like you have to accept the reality that it's not possible. You're not able to. You don't like doing the push-ups, but you want to be fit at the same time. So you have to accept that that feeling that's there, and then once you accept it, um, because I think a lot of people like they'll like, kind of reject it or they'll say no, no, I don't I don't want to do push-ups because push-ups itself won't help me to lose weight or push-ups itself won't help me to they'll make
Right.
up an excuse. So you have to just like accept that yeah, I don't like doing push-ups. But the thing is that it's important. Like if I do push-ups, then I'll get I can build up muscles, I can do this and all stuff. We'll accept that. And then just say I'll do one every day. And then just do one every day. And then after one will become two eventually because automatically you'll start thinking that anyways I'm doing it every day, so might as well do a couple of extra. Then that
Right.
couple extra will slowly it'll come to 5, then 10, and 15, 20, 25, 30. It'll go like that. After a couple of months, it'll just go to 30 eventually at some point. And then
Right.
in by then you would have already naturally like realized, okay, I am doing 30. I mean, it's like it's not a big deal and stuff. But if you start doing 30 right from the start, then it becomes very difficult. Then it can like you can
Not maintain it,
you won't be
overstrain.
able to you'll lose you'll feel very disheartened. Like you'll do 30, the next day when you do it, you feel very tired and all stuff.
So
And
what
then
you're saying basically, I think, is that the challenge is more with one's own mind. That one
mind, yeah.
subdues the mind before one starts getting the body to do what we want it to do.
Yeah. And
Isn't
also
it?
I think yeah, and also like because a lot of times the mind kind of tricks you, like sometimes it's good to play tricks on your mind also. Like it's good to play a counter trick sometimes. So like
Right,
your
yeah.
mind will trick you to do something, but like in this way you're tricking your mind to forming a habit. Your mind is telling you don't do this, but then you do little bit every day, and then after some time the mind is like, okay, yeah, this is like normal. And so in one sense, you can also trick the mind just as the mind can trick you also.
Right,
So you
right,
can trick
yeah.
the mind to do some good habits, and then eventually you'll have some good habits and all that stuff. So
Good,
that's how
yeah,
I look at it.
good contribution. It's a good realization, because the mind is the key to the whole thing. Even in spiritual practice, no, it early chapters, third chapter, I think it was, that way we learned the mind. Sixth chapter, mind is
Yeah.
can be the best friend or it can be your enemy.
Burst enemy, yeah.
Worst enemy. That's right. Yeah. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshaya. The mind alone is the reason for man's feeling of liberation or of bondage. And as we say, it's all in the mind. So sukham, pleasure, happiness, okay, should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected. I'm hunting for one, like it's like not like a proverb, like a saying in Krishna consciousness. Always remember Krishna. Ah, yeah. The summum bonum of all these big textbooks that Rupa Goswami has written, what's called the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, how to do devotion practices. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That's all. That's the sum and substance of everything. Here it's saying uh, anything favorable should be accepted, anything unfavorable rejected. Why do we reject something unfavorable? Because it's going to take us away from the remembrance of Krishna. Why do we particularly look for things that are favorable for the development? Because it means it is connecting us more and more, and it takes us back to remembering Krishna. And the maxim, or like the strong saying, is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. When we were taught Bhakti Shastri, we were asked what is the sum and substance of that whole book, such details about, how to do the arati and different stages of love for Krishna, and sum and substance is just this: always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Okay, Bhava, please read the next para. Birth.
Yeah. Bhava, birth should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death, that we have
Yeah.
discussed in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore,
Hmm.
his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. They have no knowledge of what the next life holds. So they are therefore in constant anxiety. If you want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way, we will be free from all fear. In
Okay,
the
just
Srimad,
yeah, carry on. That's also about bhayam. Go on, carry on.
uh, yeah, so in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 37, it is stated, Bhayam dvitiyabhini veshataha syat. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. By those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam, fearlessness, is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness.
What is your what do you have any comments to make about this? What is the
Uh,
source of bhaya and abhaya? Or like what should we be aspiring for?
we should obviously everybody wants to be in a state of fearlessness, and
Right. But it's not
like
always
fear.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not always possible, and it's also it's mentioned that that people who get caught up in the illusory energy of the of of that illusory energy is also like the external energy of Krishna in one sense.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
if we get too attached with the illusory energy, then we kind of we get we identify. Yeah, go ahead. I'm saying.
Not only that, it is a job of the illusory energy to keep us inside a prison like mentality, and to
Hmm.
keep us inside this prison world of the material world. If you're super rich, you are whatever, it still means you're in a prison, but you're in a kind of VVIP luxury prison. Why is it considered a prison? Not just because we can't literally get out of this world unless we take to space travel or anything. Not just that, because this material world means rich or poor, finally, all these things that you're so frightened of do catch up with us. Misery, tragedy, unhappiness, disturbed mind, and so on. So the illusory energy's job basically is, or what is called a Maya, or that which is not Krishna, is to imprison us. And we try through gaining knowledge and faith in Krishna to try to break out of the shackles and get out of this fearful mentality. But when we're really serious, Krishna orders the illusory energy, stay away. Don't trap this particular person too much. Don't harass him or her too much. Stay away. They're trying to come towards me. So, therefore, this fear and fearlessness, actually, it is also connected with a word that somehow Srila Prabhupada has not described, which is like sukham, there is dukkham, or distress. And often fear and distress are connected. So I was listening to a class by somebody, by some a spiritual speaker. When we talk about distress or dukkham, the mind can play such tricks with us to make us unhappy. And the story that is being told is that someone goes to visit a friend after some years and to live with that friend and his wife. And though they go through all the pleasantries and the friend has made arrangements, he is seeing this visiting friend after some years, a room to stay and food arrangements and so on. But after a while, this visitor friend feels that his friend is uh, unhappy about something. So he doesn't know how to tackle this because some distance has come, some years have passed. So he tackles the wife, who's a lot more normal, down to earth lady, and says, is there something actually that is a disturbance in your family life or some problem the children are creating? I haven't met them. Something seems to be really bothering your husband. And so the wife doesn't elaborate, but she says, I can guarantee he has no business really to be unhappy or disturbed about anything. If he still is, that's his problem. So then another week passes, and the friend tackles this original, the man, and says, is there something actually disturbing or making you unhappy and distressed? I don't see. So the man says, well, it is like this. 1 month ago, one of my uncles died and left me 50,000, I think it was in South Africa, rand. Another month after that, another elderly relative died and left me some 20,000 rand. Third month has passed, nobody has died. So you see, he's got himself into an idea of expecting some inheritance like this. See how the mind is.
Oh.
He was managing quite well even without the inheritance. So the
Hmm.
mind tricked him. 1 month he got a kind of, like you say, a bonus from somewhere. And then the next month also. But the third month, nobody has died, and he's in anxiety, wondering when will some news come that he gets some inheritance. So stupid. That is why the wife said clearly he has no business. I mean, because they have enough money, they are okay. But like this, the mind can completely trick you into distress. Dukkam. And from dukkam also fear. You're fearful. What you are expecting didn't happen or whatever. Yeah.
This is also with the gambling, and when you get into gambling also it's the same mentality, like you win once, then you feel like you can win again, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you win again, then you feel like it'll happen again, and then you lose everything, you lose all your money and all that stuff, and
Yeah,
then so
yeah.
gambling also is like that, you get addicted to it and
That's
all.
absolutely very correct. That's why it is one of the four regulative principles, not having anything to do with gambling. It's one of the four, in the sense, one is of course that you don't eat flesh, meat. Other is not intoxication. Third is this, and the fourth of course is illicit sex, illicit and
Mm.
unlawful. Avoid as much as possible. So, yeah, going back to this, fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam or fearlessness is possible only for one in Krishna. I guess because we know what's what, we accept that this body is temporary. There is another life. That what we have done, the good in terms of spiritual practice, gets carried over. So it is just like the loss of clothes on top of the atma. The second chapter gives this analogy. It's like clothes. The person just keeps changing clothes. This body grows old and problematic and difficult to maintain. It's a source of so much misery. Actually, you see it happening in old people. There came a point when my father, though he wasn't suffering so much with prostate cancer, the cancer was advancing. But he was saying it's just not worth trying to remain alive and hoping to remain alive. I'm 85, bone pain is starting, and everything has become so difficult. So you reach a point where you really get realization that, all right, give up this body, the soul goes somewhere else, and then that I leave to the Lord, because I've been practicing and chanting and doing things as well as I can. So, okay, so that is Bhaya and Nirbhaya. Next para, please. Ahimsa or non-violence.
Yeah, ahimsa non-violence means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, etc., do not produce very good results because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. The human body is meant for spiritual realization. So any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called non-violence.
Okay, so here you have a rather unique, rather original definition of ahimsa. It's not what we would normally associate as in Buddhism. Ahimsa, non-violence, means that one doesn't do anything harmful, one doesn't kill, and so on. Here it says, means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is kind of defining or arguing that if you don't give people spiritual knowledge to uplift them, you're being very cruel to them. If you have the opportunity and you don't do it. Therefore, material activities, politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, etc., they are in powerful positions. They are social influencers. Like now you have this concept of Instagram influencers.
Mm.
They can, if they want, make a difference. But by deliberately not giving them that knowledge, which is very important for them to hear, how we are not this body, we are spirit, soul, what is the purpose of the human life, human birth is got after many other stages of evolution in the species, uh, that you don't give it, you are actually committing harm to them, or you are keeping them in their confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, etc., do not produce very good results, because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. They are only talking about material and the material body, and even that they don't keep their promises. Ahimsa means that people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. Human body is meant for spiritual realization, so any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of people in general is called non-violence. That's a pretty unusual definition of ahimsa. No, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's pretty unusual. So
So that
meaning, yeah,
so
you
they are
go on.
saying that um so I mean here they are saying that, I mean, the people who are trained in such a way that they fully utilize the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. And primarily they've mentioned which is for spiritual realization. I think when people hear the word non-violence, it's like the first thing you can think of is Gandhi
Right,
and
right, right.
that freedom struggle. You think of
That's
Gandhi and
right.
how
Ahimsa.
they, and how they have used that word to kind of put this meaning, like, that ahimsa, non-violence, means that, don't be violent towards other people
Right,
and
right.
show kindness, compassion, and things like that. But but here they mentioned that it's like they mentioned the human body is meant for spiritual realization. So
Right,
any
yeah.
movement or any commission which do not follow that end commit violence on the human body. So the violence is, if you don't do spiritual, if you're not like going, if you're not on the path to realize yourself spiritually, then in one sense you're committing violence on your body. And
Because
so
you are,
any, yeah,
yeah, go
yeah.
on.
No, no, play, go ahead. What do you say?
No, because it means that you are not using the human body for the purpose. You are wasting it. Ishopanishad says the same thing. You are like, like a miser. You have a lot of money. Like that, after many births through the lower species, you finally get a human birth. It's like, say you save in a piggy bank or in a bank, and you finally get a lot of money, but you don't use it. You just let it sit there and stare at it, or you don't use it. So it is like what's called a kripana, or a miserly person, a kanjus makichus, as I say in Hindi. Okay, so like that, you get a human body which is like a lot of wealth, but you don't use it for the purpose it's meant to be used. That is to say that the consciousness of a human being is far superior to the lower species. And the human, of course there might be exceptions, certain animals, certain creatures in certain species are more advanced, certain elephants, certain dogs, their memory, their loyalty, what they can grasp, their responses, that's different. But basically, the human birth is why it's important, because we have that higher level of consciousness to inquire about God, what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose, and to adjust the life accordingly. So if we don't use it, we are squandering away. It is like a waste, or else it is like a miser who doesn't use the wealth that he's been given in the form of the human brain and the human body. So that is it. In each Upanishad, it is called a kripana or a miserly attitude. Here it is called you are committing non-violence on yourself, or committing violence on yourself.
Violence.
And by not imparting this kind of information or knowledge, which we discussed last time, that universities don't give it, colleges don't give it. If you don't give this information or knowledge to people when you have the opportunity, then you are committing violence on them. Often you see, I don't want to name any names, but respected speakers and preachers getting a platform on highly viewed sites, and they are asked leading questions which they could answer and enlighten everyone. They don't do it. They
Mm.
just kind of play around with words and say, no, it's not like this. And the Gita is not really a religious book. You then say how it is not a religious book. It is not a religious book in the sense that it is a manual for all mankind. It is not just for Hindus. It's giving us a way how to negotiate this material world. And that is a challenge for every individual, man, woman, German, Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter. Then explain, what do you mean that the Gita is not a religious book? But the person just says something so as to just sound very good and very popular and politically correct. That kind of person is committing violence on the audience. He's being invited to a very influential show. It's going to get lots of viewers. What he says may actually make an impact on the people, but he loses the opportunity. He
Mm.
doesn't impart. He has all the skills and the wit and the humor to convey in a nice way, but he doesn't. So that is really like committing violence on all these individuals. That's the meaning of this definition of ahimsa.
Like, was it like recently you saw that person or?
Yeah, yeah. I will later message you.
Okay, okay.
There's a whole discussion about it, and how, and there's like a rejoinder to it. Why someone else
Oh.
saying these were such good questions that the host asked, but this guy, this so-called famous, he just uh, squandered away all those chances and misled and confused. Sometimes even I feel that about some of the answers that speakers give. I
Mm.
don't mean necessarily only the organization to which I belong, but certain others. That why keep people in confusion? They are asking a
Mm.
question to understand. Someone asks, how do we deal with death? It's a sincere question. People are frightened of death. The answer,
I think a lot of people. I think there's like people who are invested in making sure that others are in doubt most of the time. So it's like if they're kind of there's something to gain from that most of the time. Like you like for example, like if you take pharmaceutical companies and all that, like if for example they figure out a cure to make sure that no human being ever gets any type of disease or anything like that, then their entire business would go out of the picture. Like they wouldn't be able to like a lot of the times they would make a medicine that creates further problems for the body, and they would create medicines to counter that medicine, and then the cycle goes on. And so the thing is they make a lot of money that way, and so they're invested, like even though they're in the business of curing people, they're also in the business of making sure that they get sick so that they make money also at the same time. So similarly, like people who are
spiritual
supposed to,
talks.
yeah, people who are like spiritual gurus and teachers and all stuff, they're in the business of making sure that people get these spiritual answers, but they don't want to give they don't want to give the real message, because if they do that, then people will just do that. They won't listen to them for. They won't be like, if you tell people to like just, okay, Krishna is love and Krishna is the only thing. A lot of people will be like, okay, I don't. I mean, see, a lot of people are like, practicing Krishna consciousness without any Siksha Guru or Diksha Guru or anything like that. They're
Right,
just
right,
practicing it on their own. No? So
right.
similarly, like if they are in a business, they don't want people to kind of just go and do everything on their own. They
That will
want
be
people
the
to
end of
like,
their business.
yeah, that'll be
That
the
will
end
be
of the
the end of
business.
their.
They won't make their
Yeah,
money.
there's certainly something in what you're saying, that there are again business force interests in mind when they don't give clear answers.
Yeah,
There's definitely, I had not thought of that. I had thought of everything else, but I had not thought of that. Yeah, I guess you're right.
yeah,
Anyway, miserable like Kali Yuga, the kind of age we live in, that you can't trust anyone, you can't take anyone at face value, no matter what robes they don and what high position they have. Anyway, all right. So the next one is Samata, equanimity. Yeah, go on.
yeah. Samatha equanimity refers to the freedom from attachment and aversion. To be very much attached or to be very much detached is not the best. This material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable for prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. That is called samatha, equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept save in terms of its usefulness in the prosecution of Krishna consciousness.
So the key sentence here is to be very much attached to something, to be very much detached, neither is the best. And many devotees run the risk of the second one, that they just think detachment, totally detached, that is the path of the Jnana Yogi. They withdraw from everything in the material world because they're so worried that it will attract and distract them from spirituality. So they reject everything. Whereas Bhakti Yoga is not like that. The idea is that you can take things, your love for things, and engage it in the service of the Lord in some way. You love to read. Slowly bring your mind to read about spiritual, topics. You love decoration. Okay, then get into the service that helps to decorate the altar room or the deity room or stitch dresses and make design jewelry. We have a fashion designer from Tokyo who made her life in Mayapur, married a Bengali. Now she's a grandmother, but she basically made one visit to Mayapur and something changed in her life. And all the skills, some of the most beautiful Radha Madhav dresses were her ideas. There's a particular lotus dress where the skirt comes out like different petals of each big huge lotus. So the top part is of course the bodies, where the female, the Radha form is there. That became kind of so influential that so many temples started copying the famous lotus dress. So
Hmm.
she was trained, she was not even a regular Japanese Buddhist or anything, she was just a Japanese, very fashionable, smoking, drinking, and she was trained in the Tokyo fashion school. How many years ago? Yeah, maybe this is like say 40 years ago, definitely. But somehow she came to on a visit to India, Nepal. Someone put her on to Mayapur, and then she spent the rest of her time getting that satisfaction and artistic creativity which she has, finding a channel for it by doing unusual things, which somehow the management is allowing. It is allowing her to try all new designs. So that's the idea, not that you completely suppress that basic creativity and love for color and design that you have, because people are individuals and God has given each one individual talents. Some people are creative, some are completely color blind, some are musical, some are tone deaf. They can't make out the difference between good music and bad music. So we take what we have and use it in the service of the Lord, not that we suppress. But at the same time, if we have to develop this detachment, this middle path of not too much attachment, not too much detachment, we need to watch ourselves. For example, if we have a weakness for something, of course, the highest option is to take that something. Say, now, I can speak for myself that I have a great weakness for flowers, okay, and not necessarily flowers that are used in pujas and puja room. I just love flowers from the garden, flower arrangement, spending money buying flowers from the florist. This is an area where I share a lot with your mother and we keep exchanging pictures of flower vases and so on. Now I often tell my mother, mom, that after your time, if I ever end up in penury, blowing up all my my savings and inheritance, it will only be because of flowers. We just joke about it, that it's not dresses, it's not cheese, the other things I like, that will make me end up on the streets, but this flowers, it's a very big weakness for me. It's not that in Kerala you get such flowers because this is a hot place and you go to one or two florists a certain season, now you get, then when the hot season
Maybe,
comes, it's not.
maybe you can go to the hill stations. You might be able to find something around. Like go like go
You're going
somewhere.
to, yeah. In the hill stations, the weather is so perfect that flowers just literally leap out of the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Just near a tea shop, someone's throwing their BD and their chai cups, but even there, beautiful color flowers come out. But what kind of deal I made with my mom just to reassure is that only every alternate week I buy flowers for 200 or 250 rupees. I don't buy every week. So that one week the flowers stay. I keep changing the water, and then I make an arrangement. The next week I put artificial plastic flowers there. So just to, it's not that I can't spend that 250 on that second week also, but just to keep myself in check, so that basically it is just every alternate week, which means just twice a month, which means basically only about 500 rupees a month on flowers. That's not too bad. We can do it, so we need to check what is our weakness and to work with it. This is part of reining in our senses and weaknesses, like analogy of the horse. It's the same idea that we have to know where we stand and work, not suppress totally and say I will never spend any money on flowers, or just flowers and flowers and flowers like some people do. So this whole thing, like,
Today I read, I mean, I heard something interesting today. Like, I was listening to the today's episode of the Wisdom Sages podcast. So
right.
these people are actually Raghunath and Kaustubha. They are actually in India now. They're in
Okay.
that
Good.
Govardhan Eco Village. They're
Oh,
staying in the Govardhan
Bombay,
Eco Village,
Bombay. Okay.
Bombay. So they're like recording. I think they're staying there in for a month or something. So they're recording all their episodes from there
Very
for a
nice.
1 month. So they were just like saying today that Raghunath was saying that he was walking with Radhanath Swami in that
Uh-huh.
Govardhan Eco Village, and Radhanath Swami was saying that that he made this point because it's interesting because up till now I was thinking that the best sort of side to be on is on the middle side, right? Like on
Right,
the
right.
middle. It's
Yeah,
never good to be on
moderation.
the moderation.
Moderation. Yeah.
So he said something. He's like joking with um, Raghunath
Yeah.
and saying
Yeah.
that in today's time it's very difficult, especially here in Kali. It's very difficult because you when you're on either side, the other side will hate you, and even if you're on the middle path also, there will be half of the people on both sides will also hate you. So it's like you're never going to be satisfied. Like even if you are on the middle path, there will be half the people on this side and half the people on this side will also not like that much.
So you
So
mean you
whatever,
can't please, and you can't
yeah,
please everyone all the time like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if even if you're on the middle path, you may think that you're not like doing anything wrong. But in one sense, half of the both the sides will be like, what is wrong with you? Like that. So even that also is not possible. So then what do you do in that sense? Like, and the only other option is to like is kind of like transcend that whole thing itself. Like, to try to go beyond that, try your best to go
I
beyond
see.
and
Okay.
work towards that goal because like because I mean it's true that like if you don't choose any side, if you choose a side, naturally the other side will hate you, but if you don't choose
I
any
think,
side,
yeah,
half
I
will
think
hate you, half will also, yeah.
I think I know what he's trying to explain, because there
Okay.
is so much polarization now, even within ISKCON. For female Dikshaguru against female Dikshaguru, for a particular character who has made certain mistakes, totally against that particular character, that personality. Forgive him, don't forgive him at all, kick him out, smash him, forget all the good he did to the movement for so many years. So there's so much polarization. It's really very tough. What Maharaj is explaining, that not just that you can't please anyone, even if you decide you're not going to take either side, there is some good you're seeing in this side and some good in that side. The polarization is so extreme. Either it's a symptom of advancing Kali Yuga, and what you call boiling Rajoguna. People's passions are so high, and there are forums and sites where you can say what the hell you like, and it will just get posted. You can make all kinds of claims. You can abuse, smash people. What is the word for it? Witch hunt. Forget about values like forgiveness and equanimity, and so it's just such a terrible scene that either way, as what he is saying correctly, that the both sides will hate you. So the only thing seems really be to be able to transcend. Yeah, there is some real wisdom in this, to transcend even the middle path, in the sense you may technically stick to the middle path, but don't expect that anybody is going to appreciate you for the fact that you showed
Yeah.
the good sense. I think that's what he means. Don't expect that people will respect you because you have stuck to the middle path. because that's not how today's world is set up.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not easy. It's like if you try to, it's very easy. Like when you're able to pick a side, it's very easy. But then when you don't pick a side, nobody will nobody's gonna like you. Even the people that don't, there'll be other people also who might not pick a side. They
right?
are also going to be like, they're not going to be like your friends or anything like that. They're not going to care that
Right.
much, like, because when you don't pick a side, you don't pick any kind of opinion or any kind of idea. And even
Uh-huh.
those who are like you who don't pick it, they will most likely be like, yeah, if, you didn't pick, I didn't pick. Okay, but like, what else do we have to? What else can we like bond over here? Nothing much we can bond over there. So you're kind
Right.
of alone when you don't pick a side in one sense. So
Very
you
much
may
alone.
be you may be happy that, or maybe like feel like, okay, I didn't choose a side. I'm like independent, but also you're kind of like alone also a bit in one
Right,
sense.
right. You're isolated. You get
Yeah,
isolated and you get no credit for actually doing something that is quite credit worthy.
yeah,
Isn't it? You think about it, it is actually a lot of credit should be given to people who are not swayed to extremes. But
yeah.
today's world and the polarization, you neither get any, you won't get appreciation. If at all, you'll only get more brickbats or whatever it's called.
So the only thing is to basically transcend, maybe like
Maybe
to
to
kind of
transcend.
go
Yeah, to
beyond that
go beyond
stage.
it. Yeah, go beyond it. Yeah, that's right. And to go beyond will also mean to act very independently. That if from
Hmm.
within Krishna is telling you, show a lot of kindness to that wretched man who is now in bad books of the movement. You just do it. You know that I think probably what it means by transcend. That
Hmm.
even if the whole world is against you and you know that he deserves certain punishment and others are seeing to it about the punishment, but from within if you feel really sorry for
Yeah,
this individual who did so much good and then he's blackened his notebook so badly and you just want to show kindness, then you just go ahead and do it. I guess that's what it
like
means.
like sort of act in a way that that you feel like is like humane and compassion according to the
That's right.
situation. Like
Right,
even if you have people that are like close to you, but like they're doing something that is like kind of not good, like you
right, right.
don't be kind of like objective about it and be like, that okay, no, this is not correct, this is not right, and have the ability to be like stand up for yourself and say
uh,
the right thing or whatever and stuff.
right, right.
um yeah, so not just say that, no, I'm not going to say anything, not saying anything to this person, not saying anything to that person. I think it takes a lot of courage then, I think, to transcend that, to
Lot of courage, and there's he's showing a way ahead. You know, he's just showing that there is another way, because right now there's a whole group baying for his blood. I know that, because he is not taking as they want him to a particular position against a particular person, a
Mm.
particular senior person. The baying for his blood, posting letters directly addressed to him saying what are you going to do, etc. So I understand what he's trying to say. That it's quite what you say. It's very useful what you're saying. Very
Mm.
helpful, because there comes a stage when maybe a person in his position,
Mm.
in his elevated position, starts to think like that.
But Radha Swami Maharaj also is like, he's also kind of elevated like Prabhupada also in one sense, kind of like has that same um that that drive that Prabhupada also had to kind of change things for the better and stuff. And he's also
He's
not,
done it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he actually managed to do it, which is very difficult. He's managed to
yeah.
set up systems. You know, he's
Mm.
managed to set up systems. You see, the major resources we have in ISKCON, they are all by his disciples. He trained them, he made them sit down and chant with him the 16 rounds daily.
Gaur Gopal Das and Gauranga Prabhu and
To
all
think of this ISKCONDesiratory.com.
Chaitanya.
You know that huge website called ISKCONDesiratory.com, where all the lectures are available. Now, that came out some 10, 15, 12 years ago. And if I'm not mistaken, that was started by the same person who also is a doctor in that Bhaktivedanta hospital in Mumbai, which is doing quite well. So he's empowering disciples to do things that benefit the whole rest of us.
Hmm.
That's the thing. Apart from all the names you mentioned of
Chaitanya
powerful,
Charan.
Yeah,
Chaitanya
all should
Prabhu,
come.
and
Exactly. Now I
yeah,
think even this wisdom of the sages, at least
they
one
are
of them,
also
that's right,
they are
there, yeah,
also
there also. So he is certainly able to make a huge difference in the situation. Okay, so we are not starting the next topic now. We will stop here because it's 10 minutes past 6.
yeah.
Tushti satisfaction, we are not starting. Next time, we are going to be starting with this Tushti satisfaction. Remember.
Okay.
So, how is it for you? Stop the recording and then I'll ask.
Yeah, yeah.